For the longest time, we all figured that a college degree and a good desk job were the golden ticket, the safest bet you could make. But, well, the AI revolution is no longer knocking on the door, it's in the office, and it's asking a pretty uncomfortable question. Is your job safe? So let's get into it and figure out the new rules for white-collar work.
For decades, when we talked about automation, the picture in our heads was always robots on an assembly line, right? Taking over blue-collar, physical, repetitive jobs. That whole story, it's been completely flipped on its head. The new reality isn't a robot arm, it's AI running on your laptop. And it's coming for tasks that require a degree, creativity, and judgment. The very things we thought made our jobs untouchable.
And this isn't some far-off futuristic thing. It's an office tsunami, and it's happening right now. That old belief that your college degree was a bulletproof shield against automation, that's over. The game has totally changed, and for a lot of professional careers, the stakes have never been higher. And just look at the sheer scale of this shift. McKinsey is projecting that almost half, 45% of the hours we currently work could be automated by the end of this decade. And get this, that's using technology that already exists today. This isn't science fiction, folks. This is the new state of play. But here's the real twist. Unlike past automation waves that mostly hit lower-wage jobs, this one's different. It is laser-focused on jobs in that $60,000 to $200,000 range. Yep, the exact professions that require a bachelor's degree or more. That's a fundamental change in who is feeling the impact. Okay, so that leads us to the million-dollar question. Who is actually in the automation hot zone? Let's get really specific and look at the jobs and the tasks that are already feeling the pressure from this massive tech transformation. And wow, this list is growing fast, and it's filled with careers we used to think of as incredibly stable. We're talking about paralegals and junior lawyers whose document review work is getting crushed by AI tools like Harvey AI. Accountants and bookkeepers, data analysts, content writers, even mid-level software developers are seeing their routine coding work handled by things like GitHub Copilot. The squeeze is definitely on. And the numbers, they're pretty stark. Let's take the legal world. A recent study from Goldman Sachs found that 44% of legal tasks can now be automated. Just let that sink in for a second. Almost half the work in one of the most respected professions out there. And this isn't just a theory. It is hitting the job market right now. The biggest law firms have already cut back their hiring of new associates by 18%. Why? Because they're putting their money into technology instead of new hires. And it's pretty much the same story in accounting. Deloitte is predicting that by 2028, an absolutely mind-boggling 70% of routine accounting and compliance work is just going to be automated. The whole structure of that career path is changing, with way fewer jobs at the entry level. So what is the common thread here? What do all these jobs have in common? Well, they're all built on something called routine cognitive work. Basically, think of it as any task that involves processing information, spotting patterns, and then just applying a set of rules. Like sorting legal documents or balancing a spreadsheet. This is exactly what AI was born to do. It's AI's sweet spot. And honestly, it does it way faster and more accurately than any of us ever could. Okay, so that's the reality of the challenge. It is really easy to feel a little bit overwhelmed by all this. But that brings us to the most important question of all. In this new world, where can we as humans still win? Let's make a pivot here and start looking at the solution. All right, let's step inside what I like to call the human stronghold. This is all about zoning in on those core human skills that AI, for all of its incredible power, just can't copy. This is where our value is going to be from now on. So what exactly are these irreplaceable skills? Well, things like deep emotional intelligence and empathy. The kind of thing a great therapist has. Or creative problem solving when the situation is messy and there's no clear data. Physical, hands-on work and adapting on the fly. And then there's the big stuff, inspiring a team with a real vision and making those tough, high-stakes judgment calls where you have to take full responsibility. So to make these big ideas a little more concrete, we can actually group them into 4 different professional archetypes. Think of these as 4 kinds of jobs that really embody these uniquely human AI-proof skills. First up, we have the strategist. This is your C-suite executive, the surgeon in the middle of a complex operation, or the trial lawyer making their case to a jury. Their job is to make huge, often irreversible decisions and to be accountable when the data is fuzzy or incomplete. AI can spit out all the data in the world, but it can't take the heat or make that final gut call. But what about jobs where trust is everything? Well, that brings us to the connector. I'm talking about a psychotherapist, a top-tier sales rep who's closing a massive deal, or lobbyist navigating the halls of power. Their entire value is built on creating deep, genuine human trust and navigating really complex social dynamics, stuff that AI can maybe imitate, but never ever truly feel. Then you've got the innovator. This is the research scientist who has that eureka moment, or the entrepreneur who connects two totally random ideas to invent a whole new market. Look, AI is fantastic at optimizing things that already exist, but that spark of true out-of-the-blue originality, asking the question nobody else even considered, that is still a profoundly human act. And finally, we have the builder. Now, this is interesting because these are often new-collar jobs that mix high-tech skills with being physically present. Think of a master electrician designing a complex smart home, or a physical therapist adapting an exercise for a patient in real time. That blend of hands-on skill and adaptive, real-world problem-solving is incredibly hard to automate. Okay, so we've seen the archetypes. Now, what's the playbook? What are the actual actionable skills you need to be working on right now to not just survive, but actually thrive in this new world? Let's break down the 3 essential meta skills you're going to need. But first, before we get to the skills, there is a super important mindset shift we all need to make. The goal is not to try and be faster or better than the machine. Trust me, that's a race you will lose every single time. The real goal is to stop competing with AI and start using it as an incredibly powerful tool to amplify your own unique human strengths. It's all about collaboration, not competition. So here they are, the 3 meta skills for your new playbook. We call them meta because they're foundational. They make everything else you do better. Number 1, complex problem solving. This isn't just about finding an answer. It's about being the person smart enough to define the right problem to solve in the first place. Number 2, human persuasion. Sure, AI can write a convincing email, but it can't look a board of directors in the eye and truly inspire them to take a leap of faith. And finally, number 3, lifelong learning. Your degree, that was just the price of admission. From here on out, you have to treat your knowledge like a subscription that needs to be renewed and updated constantly for your entire career. I just love this analogy because it nails it perfectly. Think of AI and all these automated systems as the orchestra. They can play the notes perfectly, faster than any human could, but the real value, the big economic rewards, that's all going to the person who can direct the orchestra, the one with the vision, the taste, and the judgment to lead. So, let's end on this thought. The robots aren't actually coming for your job, at least not the whole thing. They're coming for the routine, the predictable, the boring tasks inside your job. So the real question for every single one of us is this. How are you going to rebuild your role around those irreplaceable human skills? How are you going to become the one who directs the orchestra,